Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Photo Mishmash. This one being broadcast live March 7th, 2019. And as usual, I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Steve Scourge. Steve, how are you today?
I'm good. There you were with that echo. I got you paused now. Yeah, I'm great. And so at the end of last week, I know there's probably a lot of people watching this show live tonight that I say tonight because I'm on East Coast time. That haven't been on before, or if you didn't stick around towards the end of one of our previous broadcasts, I brought Ollie on. Ollie is my puppy. And so I wanted to bring her on at the beginning so everybody could see. Oh, this cutie. There she is.
She's adorable. She's ridiculously adorable.
Hi, Ollie. Yeah. It's always kind of the same thing. We've got all these screenshots of me just holding the puppy up to the camera in my room, but what do you think? You like me on TV?
Oh, I saw that little head turn, turn that she knows. She knows she's a little bit of a star right now. And this is the real deal being on PhotoRec TV Mishmash. So better get her off camera before she sends me a bill. Because I can't pay that.
She's off with mommy. There we go.
All right. Nice.
Start the night off with a puppy cam.
And I won't even make fun of you for calling Renee mommy for the dog, because we do that too. We do that too.
Yeah, we do.
So everybody, welcome back. A couple of milestones. One, we did have a show last week, but this week is a little bit of a different time. Typically, this show is on Wednesdays, and I put it out completely publicly today. I haven't done that in quite a while, so it's kind of fun. So if you haven't watched this show in a while, we'll be giving you little bits and of how you can watch the show more often down the road, because it does happen almost every week when we're home and not traveling. And of course, starting the show with a huge amount of gear that arrived while I was on workshop. Actually, some of it arrived just before, so some of it went off with me to Yellowstone, which we'll talk a little bit about. And I'm going to start removing this pretty quickly here because it's just kind of distracting, but we will be talking about some of these pieces. Chat room, thank you for joining us today. If you're a photo enthusiast member, thank you for your membership and your support. We really appreciate it. And let us know, chat room, what pieces of the gear do you want to hear us talk a little bit more about during the show? Which ones would you like to see videos sooner? I'll talk a little bit about there's kind of two groups of gear on the table and then a little bit of accessories. And so I'll kind of talk about how that fits. But man, we got a great show coming up for you. We are going to be talking about this gear. We're going to talk about a couple of different articles that have 5 simple tips for getting your photos out there, for becoming a better photographer this year. And really cool picture of sound waves captured, and the precision with which it was necessary to capture these involved thousands of miles an hour and very precise communication. We'll be talking about that. And Lightroom tips and tricks. We've got a couple of images submitted from our members that they want some help with, and whatever else we feel like chit-chatting about. Well,
with in that light, then, you've got your $15,000 worth of camera gear, and I knew you were coming to the table with that.
Literally.
So I came to the table with my own $15,000 worth of gear, and I'll show it to you now. There we go.
Ooh, who can recognize that right off the bat like that? Let's say, maybe don't say anything for a moment. Let's see, chat room. I know you.
Hint, if you can read this.
Oh, that's a pretty big hint.
Yeah. So there's that, and then there's that one's actually got water in it. As far as you guys know, it may or may not be beer because it's quite a beer stein. And then there's also this guy here, and this one actually says the name. So
yeah.
Okay, so I'm kidding about the $15,000, but this is pretty cool. So for weeks, if not months, you've been having this awesome Boba Fett mug on your desk. And I've been jealous because I've had these guys sitting up in a high cabinet in the kitchen, and I finally thought ahead of time and wanted to dig them up. And they're probably worth $2.50 each on eBay. But they're legit, man. They're California, what is it? California Originals, 1977 is inscribed on the bottom, ceramic.
And they have the LucasArts. They're yeah. I would bet that they're more than $250. Actually, would.
Let's see. It doesn't say LucasArts. Star Wars copyright 1977, 20th Century Fox Film Corp.
Okay.
California original. So I don't know, maybe some people out there that know a lot more about this stuff than me can tell me what those things are worth. They're not ever going to go for sale. You know, nostalgia. I love those things, but I've had them since 1977 when I was a little kid.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty impressive. My Boba Fett mug, which is being washed right now or sitting in the dishwasher, I actually pulled it out and I was like, no, it's too dirty. And I just put it down. I'm drinking out of just a plain PhotoRec TV mug. But my Boba Fett mug, for those who have been watching, that was bought for me by my brother for Christmas when he worked at Rite Aid. I'm pretty sure it was a Rite Aid special, probably worth about $2.50. But I love it. It's great. So let me get rid of some of this gear on the table. Some of you in chat have been noticing some of the stuff that we've got here, and some of it's being hidden. Let's see.
So what was there's a Nikon box back there. Somebody, probably Brian Scanlon, saw that there was a Fuji box. So and Caleb wants to know what's in the Nikon box in the back.
Nikon box in the back. So the Fuji X-T3, I want to put head-to-head with something like the Sony a7 III and the Canon EOS RP box. Oh, yeah, which is right here on the front, right? The Canon EOS RP. And I could throw these boxes back here because I've unboxed. This isn't a show where I make you watch me unbox stuff. And the Canon EOS RP actually is already unboxed and right here. And whew, it's little. And
it's small.
Feels nice in the hand. Canon does a good job with that. And I'll be talking about something I learned about the USB charging very soon. So we mentioned this on the show last week, kind of bare bones full frame sensor camera versus kind of a full featured crop sensor camera. Which would you prefer? You know, in a lot of ways, the price is very similar. The feature set is actually quite different, and it's kind of down to sensor size. And A6400 would be can be in that kind of package as well. And here's the A6.
So wait a second. How did you get this much equipment?
I mean, if you hear about any break-ins at B&H, it's nothing. No, nothing. My fingerprints aren't burned off. Nope.
So have you gotten big enough time now that they've upped your B&H allowance?
Here's what I've learned, Steve. Sweet talking goes a long way. Sweet talking goes a long way.
Well done, good sir.
Thank you. So A7 III, EOS RP, Fuji X-T3, A6400. That's kind of all in a similar category. And then we've got what's left on the table, a video that I've been really interested in making for quite some time, and that is right around the $500 price point. What's the best camera you can get? So Nikon D3500. Not terribly exciting, but value-wise, there's a lot to love. And this is the 2-lens package. You get the 18-55 and the 70-300 for under $500. I think it comes with no, this one doesn't come with a bag.
Under $500 for that?
Yeah, under $500. I'm pretty sure.
Great.
You got a Fuji that falls into that category, the XF10, under $500. You probably do want to see that one. That's right here. I did actually take this to Yellowstone. You know, fixed lens, no viewfinder, pretty limiting. But it is very nicely pocketable, and it's an APS-C size sensor. Great quality out of this. I don't think this is going to be for everybody, but it certainly is a good value for some people.
Do they make it in silver?
That's a great question. I think they do.
Without a viewfinder, it's not quite that old school Fuji look.
Yeah. Let's step back for a second. I showed the box. God, that was really boring. And Fuji X-T3, just
is a gorgeous camera. Wow.
Yeah, I agree. Very, very nice. A lot of really nice features. I'll be shooting with that a bunch and pairing it with the 56-1.2.
Wow.
Yeah.
56.
So that comes out to 80 something, right? High 80s when you full
with
frame.
the crop.
Yep. So then we also, and I think the box is up there on the table, the Canon M50, which I've really only kind of did a quick hands-on at WPPI last year. This is Canon's crop sensor mirrorless camera, which lenses don't work on the EOS R series, even with adapters, because it's totally different lens mount. But very, very small, and in a lot of ways, a very capable camera as well. No viewfinder on here either.
Wasn't that being kind of touted as a perfect vlogging camera? Except once you put a hot shoe mic or something on there, you don't have the viewfinder anymore. It doesn't. Why?
No, that's their M50. This is the M100. Oh, I might even have said M50. Did I say M50?
M50? Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, you're correct. That is that camera. This is the M100. No hot shoe, no viewfinder. So definitely somewhat limited in some ways, but it does have a fully flip up screen for your selfie folks.
Yeah. Oh, maybe that's it. The selfie.
Yeah.
Selfie.
Panasonic G7 is in this category. It does 4K. It's got dual IS, so if video is a little bit more important to you, it looks like a little mini DSLR. Very, very lightweight, fully flip out screen, hot shoe, does 4K, which I said with that dual IS, which is pretty nice.
That's nice. That's slick, man. That flip out. So it is possible for other manufacturers to do a Canon-esque flip out screen. That's the most perfect design out there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree too. I think it gives you the most versatility. I just don't know why. It feels like stubbornness on the parts of Sony in a lot of ways that they don't adopt that fully flip out screen. Then this is kind of different, but it also went with me to Yellowstone. It is a point and shoot. It comes in at just under $500. Ridiculous amount of zoom. It's a 21 millimeter to 1365 millimeter. Let me say that again. 1365.
Oh, geez.
Yep.
We haven't done that on this show in a long time.
I didn't even say anything. Why are you laughing so much, Steve?
Because I'm commenting to Caleb.
I mean, I've got as I've kind of tried to run through these quickly, I lost the chat. Excuse me. 4K video though as well in this little point and shoot, high speed, burst rate. I took some nice shots of bison and wildlife in Yellowstone National Park, and I was pleasantly surprised. It has a mic jack, but it doesn't have a hot shoe. So I'm not sure where you're supposed to put that mic jack. Maybe hold it in this hand. Boom mic, be your own grip or something. But pretty impressed with the image quality. Shoots raw, of course. So that's nice as well. So we'll set that down here. And that was this box. So we can set that box aside. And the M100 I already mentioned. We set that box aside. This I bought and came in, and it's already plugged into my computer and being used. But this is that little teeny SSD. It's about half the size of this box, and it's 2 terabytes. It was on sale a couple of weeks ago, or about a week ago, and I bought it. My goal is to run my main Lightroom yearly catalog off of this and hope that it is a lot faster, and it will always travel with me. And when it's plugged in at home, it will sync. It will copy itself over to my bigger drive, which will then be backed up online. So that feels like the most complete setup I've had in quite some time. My big drive has been backed up online, but it's a little slow to work off of sometimes. So I'm excited to see how that progresses. MyOps Remote. They just sent me the updated version. It has some really nice new features that I'm excited to test out over the next couple of weeks, including lightning capabilities. I'm not sure I'll be testing that here. Maybe I should send it to you, Steve. You get lightning and thunderstorms there in Tennessee.
Yeah, we do. The funny thing is I was literally just going to say that with the amount of gear you're now raking in from B&H here, you're going to need an assistant.
I've needed an assistant for a long time, so whether I could afford an assistant.
Well, I mean, with that kind of gear, we got plenty of people in the chat room that are excited to get their hands on some of that stuff. We should just hold a sweepstakes and say this gig doesn't pay crap, but you'll get to play with some cool stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Who's going to enter?
Every once in a while, I do remind myself of that as I get the checks in the mail from the various ways that I make money, and I see how small they are. I'm like, wow, look, I always wanted to play with a lot of different toys, and that's exactly what I get to do.
Well, for years we've been, especially with the camera tours or with the photography tours, we've been saying for years, like, we can't afford to do what we do if we weren't doing this as a job. I can't afford to go on 14 trips around the world in a year, let alone 5 years. And then all the gear and all that stuff that you get to test out. I mean, it's some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I feel pretty lucky some days. I do. It's kind of neat. Let's just wrap this up pretty quickly. Garmin Instinct watch I bought. I've been running a little bit more, and I lost my last cheap smartwatch that I bought from Amazon, which wasn't really GPS accurate anyway. And after a lot of research, I went with a Garmin Instinct. Now, why am I talking about this? Well, there is a twist in a kind of connection to photo stuff, because you can run this watch and then get a GPX file from it. So turn it on, the GPS portion of it, walk around, take pictures with whatever camera you're using, then get back to your computer, extract that GPX file, stick it in Lightroom, and auto tag the location to all of your photos. It's kind of cool. So I'll be doing that, plus running a little bit with it. And I also bring this up because I feel like in the last year or two, I've started to have this attitude of, you know what, don't agonize over your gear purchase, your camera purchase. Just buy it. These cameras are all good. They're all going to be able to create great photos. Just buy one of them and get out there. And then I started researching sports watches. And I was like, oh, but that GPS accuracy and that one might be. And I took forever to decide. And I remembered exactly back when I was doing camera stuff as a beginner, how agonizing it was to spend your hard-earned money and want to make sure you were getting the camera that was absolutely best for you. So I understand. I just want to say that to say I understand. I still feel like all of these cameras are great. They're going to do a great job. Don't stress. Buy one. Don't have this fear of having bought the wrong one. But make sure you do a little bit of research to figure out which one's going to be best for you.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I remember us talking about those watches, the smart watches and stuff, probably back in Iceland, which was September of 18. So and maybe even before then, I don't know. But for me, it was pretty cut and dry because I'm in the Apple ecosystem. So it was kind of easy. Like I described on a previous show, I'm just not a huge fan, me personally, of the style, but it's been just awesome. I absolutely love the product. And but I still, even though I knew that would be the way to go for a smartwatch for me, it didn't stop me from doing tons of research on Suunto and Garmin and everything else that's out there. So anyway, good choice.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I might talk about it a little bit more. Caleb in chat mentioned he really likes the Suunto Ambit. That was really high on my list, but ultimately this one won out, and I've had it now for about a day and a half, so I can't really say much more about it than I have it. It sits on my wrist. It's pretty light and fairly low profile, which was important to me.
So now, are you going to become one of those Facebook posters that puts a little map of your run out for everybody to feel crappy about their health every day?
Yeah. No, I have done that in the past. When I was, there was a couple runs last year, I think, where I posted or at least shared the stories, because there was a couple times on our Iceland trip where I ran and just, what I like about running is the simplicity of it. You put on a pair of shoes, a comfortable pair of shorts, and that's it. That's all you need. Well, you don't need one, but it's nice. And then you go out there and you can see more in less time. And I ran in a couple of absolutely ridiculously gorgeous places in Iceland, and it's just really nice.
Now, I agree with you 100%, except I saw what you wore in Iceland when you got up in the morning and went for a run. You call those shorts?
They're running shorts.
I'd call it a male mini skirt. Now I come from the Michael Jordan basketball days with, I got chicken legs. I wear long shorts.
Yeah.
I don't know what the heck those things were that you were wearing.
Fair enough. All right, last on the table, gigantic box, because it's kind of the big kit that includes a shoulder bag. It's basically the same as the Nikon D3500, but Canon's version. This is the T6, no letters after it, so this is their bare bones model. Also comes in, and no articulating screen at all. So that is a downside to this at that price point, but we'll be breaking that out at that kind of $500 price point. And this thing's been sitting in the house forever. I need to talk about it. It seems really interesting. You plug in this little box. It's not actually in here. I'm not sure where it is. You plug this little box into your hard drive, and it makes all of the files and pictures on that hard drive accessible to you through their app and web interface too. I hope it's not just app. Yeah, phone, tablet, Mac, or Windows PC through the internet. So it's kind of like Dropbox, but it's your own personal drive that you're putting out there. So it's very private to you. And of course, it's as big as the drive you plug it into. You want 36 terabytes, plug it into your 36 terabyte drive, and it's all available online through this app. So I'm really curious to see how that works. It's called Kwilt, Kwilt, and number 2. And I really just need to plug it in and try it out sometime soon.
Hey, somebody asked a question early on. I think it was one of the first posts in the chat tonight about buying a Canon 800D. And is that a good purchase still in 2019? The 800D, is that considered the 80D here?
No, it's the that would be nice, wouldn't it, if it's more simple like that? No, it's the T7i. The 800D.
Oh, okay. The 800D is the T7, because they used to kind of coincide, like 400.
Let me make sure I'm right on that. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they did at some point. Yeah, it's the T7i. Yep. So that's $800 camera here in the US. And you know, it's that same sensor that they've been using for a while, 24 megapixels, but it's a good, decent camera. It really kind of comes down to what you want, but it is a great hybrid camera with good video if you don't need 4K, because it doesn't offer that, good photos and photo quality, and still a fairly portable and lightweight package. It's not quite as small as some of the mirrorless these days, and it's not quite as packed full as many bells and whistles as you might get from something like the slightly cheaper Lumix G7 series, but still very good. And of course, what we love about Canon is it's reliable, huge ecosystem of lenses, feels good in the hand, user friendly. Yeah.
Do you know any speculation about the replacement for the T7i? Is the T8i around the bend? I haven't been following the Rebel series in a while.
Yeah, we should be getting close. I think within the next 6 months, because the T7i, I believe, is about 12 months old, maybe even a little bit more. Somebody in chat, can you confirm that?
I think, I've seen quite a few T7is out on our tours and stuff like that. That's kind of why I asked, because I know with the Rebel series, they tend to update those on a pretty frequent basis. It's not like the 5D models where it's 4 or 5 years. It's usually about every, 12, 18 months that they're updating those. Yeah. So just something to whoever asked that question, if you're still on, just may want to kind of look into that, where it is in the product life cycle. Check out like Canon Rumors, and you can do a search, because 2 things can happen. You may get a new model right around the corner and end up paying what you would have paid for the old model, or you can get the outgoing model at a deep discount and save yourself some money. So I always like to pay attention to product life cycles when I'm making a large purchase like that.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And it'll be interesting. They might string out this product cycle a little bit longer as they see how the mirrorless picks up or shakes out, because whether or not they announce a mirrorless in the R series, the EF-R mount, or whether or not they, kind of like a crop R, or whether or not they sell this full frame R, which, isn't that much more. But then when you start to put lenses on, it does certainly add up. Or another, M100, M50 kind of Mark II, M100 Mark II. So those are all possibilities. Canon has one of the most kind of convoluted and mixed up product lines right now of anybody out there. Yeah. And they're certainly in this kind of time of transition. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of especially from an outsider that is just trying to do some camera research. It's just a mess to try and figure it out. And so much of it is just marketing, you know, the little slight changes here and there. And they've got a whole different product model. So.
Yeah. So we had a little bit of a different beginning to the show because we had all those boxes that I teased and I got them all off, and maybe we'll talk about a little bit more of them from time to time, but we got a lot of other stuff to cover. So we're going to just keep on plowing ahead. We'll touch quick on a couple of things. We have several workshops coming up, some coming up right around the corner that different participants had to drop out of for different personal reasons. And so there are openings, which is really rare on short-term notice. So if anybody is interested in going to the Southwest with us, March 26th to April 2nd. So that is later this month. This is a fantastic tour, and there is an opening. We do Horseshoe Bend, gorgeous evening sunset. We have something special planned for people participating this year in this tour. We go to a private slot canyon where we have our own access for a couple of hours. This is unheard of in popular slot canyons, and this one has some beautiful stuff in it. We go to Zion National Park, which is my favorite national park in the Southwest, one of my favorite national parks overall. What else do we do on that trip that we like, Steve?
Oh, man. Well, one of them, we capped it off by some of us going to see the Michael Jackson show in Las Vegas on the last night when we got back.
That's true. That's true. That was a good time.
It was not on the tour or anything. It was just, hey, if you guys want to go catch a show. And it was kind of fun. Probably terrible to bring that up with Leaving Neverland just airing on HBO. But
oh, I heard something.
Yeah. But no, it's a tremendous trip. And here's the thing with the Southwest tours, we did 3 of those last year, 2 of them this year. And then we're going to keep going with that trip as far as I know. However, it sells out so fast. The reason we did 3 tours last year, we launched one. It literally filled up in hours, and we had this huge waiting list. So we said, okay, well, we'll wait a month and we'll do a second one. And everybody from the waiting list got on the second trip. And then there was another big waiting list. So we did a third one in the fall. And so I know when David launched this one, it filled up like that. So, you know, having an open spot, I know it's last minute, but if you can make it work, it's a super popular trip. And trust me, the photographs that you get on this tour are pretty iconic. Horseshoe Bend, Slot Canyon, Zion. It's a really, really well-rounded trip. You cover a lot of ground, but you come away with a lot of really great photographs. And speaking of this trip, I literally 20 minutes before the show started, I got a package from Bay Photo. I've got 2 huge prints that I did for a client of mine who's bought a number of things from me. And I'm getting ready to sign those and send them off to him. But they're both from the Southwest tour. One is Horseshoe Bend and another is Slot Canyon, Sandfall. So, you know, these are really, really great tours.
Awesome. Yep. Awesome. And we have a handful of people in the chat room that have been on one of those tours and a couple of people that are going on those as well. So that's cool. Brian wants to see the prints. I'd love to see the prints or at least the pictures. Yeah,
they're downstairs and they're all boxed up still. I thought about it, but I just didn't have time in preparation for the show. I had to make my bed. That took a solid half an hour. You guys think I keep my room nice and clean. No, I had to spend some time cleaning it up for you.
It looks good. It looks good back there. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Maybe when I take them out and sign them, I'll take some snapshots and share that on the private member site or something.
That sounds good. And Pam has to pass on her Croatia spot, and she's actually selling that at a reduced cost. So if you're interested in going in Croatia on a private chartered boat that goes from town to town, that was a fantastic trip when we did that. Just about 2 years ago now was the last time we did Croatia.
2 years ago, a totally different experience. It's not the iconic photography heavy sort of trip. You do take some amazing photographs, but Croatia is beautiful. And it's the most relaxing tour that we offer. Remember, we visited a number of wineries and stuff, and everybody just had a really wonderful time. It was a lot of fun.
I was really impressed by the history, the amount of history in that region. You know, I was kind of ignorant of how ancient some of those towns were, you know, thousands of years old, and just really cool architecture, and yeah, really nice and relaxing time. Real quick, just we're going to hit a couple of questions in the chat. Pictai says, I hope Canon smashes expectations on a pro mirrorless body to match the beautiful lenses they are putting out. I agree. I think their bodies aren't crazy impressive right now on the RF side of things, the new mirrorless, but their lenses are incredibly impressive. And so, yes, let's see. Come on, Canon, give us something really exciting on the pro side. I kind of feel like we're being set up for disappointment, because that's where Canon has been when we get really excited about stuff in the last year or two. But I hope they'll surprise us. And Pictai, you're asking about, did Zion change the rules about tripods yet, referring to kind of not allowed as a group to use tripods in certain locations. They have relaxed that rule some. And as a workshop that we've gone in there, we've gotten special permission to use tripods in a couple of different locations. It's kind of a non-issue. It kind of got blown out of proportion in a lot of ways. But you, as a photography group, you are still restricted in some areas of not using tripods. And it kind of makes sense. They don't want you blocking the path. You know, I guess there was a couple of groups that made bad for everybody. They set their tripods up in the middle of paths, and then everybody's annoyed. That sounds annoying to me too.
Well, and Zion can be an extremely dangerous park. If you're out there hiking along and you got people setting up tripods on some of these hikes. Now, with the tour, you're not doing a lot of hikes. There is one that I know you tend to take people on, Toby. But, you know, with that Angel, what is it, the Angel Trail?
Angel's Landing.
Angel's Landing Trail. I mean, you don't want people setting up tripods in that place. That's one of the most dangerous hikes in the world. So, but to Toby's point, we get permission. Last year, it was great because we had permission to shoot stars with tripods in the evening, and we went to the visitor center, and we were the only people there. It was so great. You got the place to yourself. It was wonderful. So, yeah, I would, if you go, absolutely bring your tripod.
Yeah. And I have I believe it's just one, maybe two spots remaining on my Zion Adventure photography tour. If you want more information about that, just send it. It's a small group just by me. And I'll happily share more information with that. I'm going to publish that out to the public soon. We're just waiting for a couple other trips to be announced, but I can say that here. Yeah. Let's see. If you're a PEN member, that's the Photo Enthusiast Network. Again, thank you for your membership. You partially make this show possible, along with great sponsors like Squarespace, where if you want to learn more about building a wonderful website, go to squarespace.com/photorectv. But PEN members, not only do you get access to the show and the ability to submit images, to see us work on them, ask questions, get answers, you of course have access to the community, and you get new content each week, an email with a tip. We call it Tuesday Tip because we're kind of literal like that. It's a tip that comes on Tuesday.
Sometimes on Wednesday.
Sometimes on Wednesday, yeah. If I'm writing them, they usually arrive at like 12:01 a.m. Wednesday night. Steve, I think you hold the record for getting them out on time most of the time. But I just love it. We talk about this almost every week, but I love the kind of breadth of the content, the diversity of the content, everything from, you know, staying healthy as a photographer to taking that safety shot was something that I wrote about a few weeks ago, just every week. And all of past weeks, if you join today or join tomorrow, they're all accessible in our community membership site as well. And you get new videos each week. So a new article each week, a new video each week. And my most recent video was the adjustment brushes, the local area adjustments, when to use a radial filter, when to use a graduated filter, when I use a brush, and some of the kind of tips and techniques between those three. Those are really powerful features in Lightroom. And so I like sharing kind of my tips and tricks for getting more comfortable with those and getting a little more efficient.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I mean, we talk about this a lot on this show, but we always say, you know, if you just join PEN, the Tuesday tips in and of themselves will make you a better photographer. Just once a week, you read that and kind of put it into practice, you'll become a better photographer. But it's kind of one of these things, like you get out what you put in at the same time too. You can sit back and we can teach you some things, but if you get involved, people are really getting involved with the private Facebook site. We've got the discussion board. There's image reviews. where we critique those. There's image competitions that are sponsored by Bay Photo with some incredible prizes. And we use the PPA's guidelines. It's the Professional Photographers of America guidelines on judging those images and preparing you for formal competition if you want. We can take you from a beginner to a professional photographer, and there's so many different facets to it. I don't know anything else out there that is that's like it. And I don't just say that because I'm one of the co-founders. Like, that was one of the discussions that we had when we were putting this whole idea together. And my input was, when I got started as a professional, when I left the corporate world to become a professional photographer, I just wanted one place that I could join or belong to that could kind of show me the ropes all the way through, whether it's camera functions or where to shoot, how to shoot, best time of day, studio lighting, how to get involved in competitions, professional organizations, all that stuff, and just a discussion board of like-minded people. So it's kind of on my soapbox right now, but I just don't know anything out there that is kind of a one-stop shop. And I like to think that we're not intimidating at all. Hopefully other people can chime in on the chat room, but we try to just be friendly people. This is, we want to welcome people into this industry. We want you to turn pro. We want you to, I don't care if you want to compete with me on selling landscape images or compete with somebody on shooting weddings or whatever. There's room for everybody.
Yeah, well said. I think that's exactly how I feel as well. It's just, I love the welcome and friendly nature of the group, and also on the workshops too. It's kind of, as there's no egos among us as instructors of this is the only way it can be done, and this is the only thing that you should do, or this is the only thing that counts as photography. There's none of that. There's just like, where are you? Where would you like to be? And we'll help you get there. Yeah. Let's moving on a little bit. So I mentioned coming back from Yellowstone. I've already blabbed a lot. So I'll just say that Yellowstone in the wintertime remains one of my favorite destinations on Earth. It's just such an awesome place. And every time I go, I'm stunned by the amount of unbroken snow. I mean, there are these vistas where the snow just blankets the landscape, maybe a little bit of animal tracks here or there that makes for a great leading line into a photo, but just generally an absolutely gorgeous wild place. The crowds are gone. The wild animals remain. The kind of geothermal throwing up the steams across the landscape. It's just awesome. It's awesome.
I've seen a lot of your photographs over the years, Toby. And I mean, we've toured together a lot. You post a lot. So people are exposed to a lot of the work that you do with your photography. And I got to say that there's been a couple images that you posted recently that are a couple of my all-time favorites that I've seen you do. Wow. The one was getting ready for Yellowstone winter. It was a shot from last year or the year before that I hadn't seen before. I don't know if you posted it and I just missed it. It was a single tree in the snow that was just done really, really well. And then today, I think you posted one that had this great leading line of kind of this river through the snow into some trees, into the mountains in the background. And, we teach you how to do that on the trip, how to process that and everything else. But you got to get to the location. Mm-hmm. And Yellowstone in the wintertime, it's just spectacular. There's nobody around. You can only access, like Toby was saying, you can only access these places with snow coaches, and it's just untouched. And you guys were pretty stoked because you got tons of fresh snow.
Cool. And 7 feet.
Yeah. That picture today was just beautiful. If you guys haven't
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's on my Instagram. You should follow both Steve and I on Instagram. It's one of my favorite places to interact with people these days, but you should just follow us to see what we're up to from time to time.
Yep.
Oh, yep. Great. Thank you, Steve. And we are going back. One trip is already sold out. Looks like we'll be putting a second together. These are going to happen in winter 2020, probably, was it mid-February, early February. So keep an eye out for that. You can go to mckaylive.com and sign up for the newsletter. That's where you'll get information. Or if you're a Penn member, you always get notice before the general public. And as we've said, these trips, typically, we're not just saying this to be salesmen. They typically sell out in a day or two.
The brutal reality is, and this is no knock against people that are outside of Penn, But when we talked about doing this and offering these trips exclusively to pen members first, I mean, you folks are paying to be part of this community and this learning experience, and McKay Photography is all tied into that as well. So it's the right thing to do. But I mean, as we've all gotten to know each other and stuff, we want you guys on our trips. We talk about this stuff every week, and it's awesome for us because we become friends with people that go on the tours with us, and we think that you'll come back if we do our job right. So you know, selfishly, we want our friends to take some of those first spots so that we get some reunion time with you.
Yep. I feel strongly the same. And I wasn't at all trying to do two jobs at once. All right. So we've reached the part of the show that we usually get to a little bit sooner. But as I said, the opening was a little bit different. But a reminder, if you are a Photo Enthusiast Network member, do get your images in for the March PPA level style review. That's what Roy put down, which, by the way, if we're about to get into some articles and news stories in a little bit later, if you're interested in seeing anything that we talk about in more detail, you can see that at photorec.tv/MMH. That stands for Mishmash Highlights. But this is a review that, Steve, you do along with David and Allie, all professional photographers, sit down and take a look at submitted images for each month. And you mentioned this earlier. The winner, the one that is picked by you all as the best image of the month, receives really nice prizes from Bay Photo, legitimate, like 20 by 30 canvas, or, you know, a 16 by 20 metal print. And I know recently Roger just got his picture printed when he won from a couple of months ago. He lives overseas, but they still sent it and did it in such a way that it didn't cost him anything extra. Of course, because it's nice when you win something, you don't have to pay a bunch of extra then for shipping or something like that. And it's just an absolutely beautiful picture and beautiful print. So congratulations to Roger. The rest of you, this is a fantastic way to grow as a photographer. And it's just one of many ways that you can get regular feedback on your images.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Andrew's asking, what are the differences between the two Yosemite trips? I think you mean Yellowstone. There are no differences, just that one got sold out, so we have enough interest, and we're probably going to put together a second one. The only difference will be a different week. And who knows what that'll bring. All right, let's dive into a few Lightroom tips and tricks. These are images submitted by our Photo Enthusiast members. So I need to say share my entire screen, and I need to stick it here and then here. And we're good to go. All right. So this is the part of the show where people send their images, and then we poke around a little bit. And our goal is to give you some feedback on your image, and mostly to teach you some Lightroom tips and tricks. This time, though, actually, we're going to jump over to Photoshop, because here's what Tim wants to do. This is a fantastic image that he captured with us in Antarctica just like a month ago, which is kind of hard to believe that I was in Antarctica a month ago. But I just love, this was shot with a 100 to 400 at 100. And I really love using the 100 to 400 was pretty much glued to my camera in Yellowstone as well. Because with the larger landscapes, longer telephoto lenses really do nice things like compress the foreground and background. So there's this epic glacier right back behind this Gentoo colony. And it just sandwiches it so much closer. And I love that. But he wants to do the trick in Instagram where you can swipe to see a larger pano. You know, a lot of people.
I finally just did that with my pen, my one image. I used the reconciliation, which is a similar format to this, and did that in Photoshop. So I'm glad that we're covering off on that.
Yeah. And that picture, you all should take a moment and go click over to Steve's, link to Steve's Instagram. I mentioned him. It's right down below this video, and see that image. It's fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So we want to pop over to Photoshop. That's where we can do this. And anybody who doesn't have Lightroom and Photoshop, I think the easiest way to get them is through the Adobe Creative Cloud subscription. But if you don't want to do that, there are apps out there that will help you slice a larger image into the smaller ones. Typically, people put up different images for that kind of swipe carousel on Instagram. But if you want to put up one large one, it will allow you to swipe through absolutely seamless. I discovered that quite a while ago, and I have a YouTube video about it, but let's just show it real quick. So I've popped this over to Photoshop. That's where you have to be in Photoshop. And let me turn the grid off. And what you need to do is go up to View, New Guide. No, sorry, View, New Guide Layout. And you tell it how many columns you want. And it will set them to be equal distance. So if you want to split this into 4, you can do that. If you want to split it into 2, you can do that. If you want to split it into 3, you can do that. Now, one thing to keep in mind, though, is that it is still only square images. Am I right about that, Steve?
Yeah, when you're doing multiple images on Instagram, I think it squares them. You can't even do the 5:4. It's yeah, it is a square.
Yeah, yeah. So keep that in mind. In this case, maybe Timmy, you want to do just 2. If you did 3, then you would need to possibly do a border above or below to give you more of a square format. Is that what you would do? Hold on, my geometry.
Well, so I'm gonna offer a suggestion that you guys have a couple of different options to work with, because this is a great way to go. But if you find that you're kind of getting challenged on how to create the square and stuff, I create one big crop as a 3:1. So basically three wide to 1 high.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just go 1:1, and you just select one on the far left, and then select one at the far right, or the middle, and then the far right. And oh, is that a 3:1 ratio right there?
Yeah, that's a 3:1 there. Okay. Yeah.
So that's gonna let me back up for a second. I said 3:1 because of the picture that I did recently. Reconciliation was a very wide, narrow shot, so I split it into 3 images. You can do a 2:1 if you're going to split it into 2. And that will give you exactly 2 squares.
Yeah.
So anyway, just kind of another way to go if you're kind of running into a problem getting it.
That's a good point. So you have to come up with a crop that's going to work for you, and it might involve adding letter bars. But then once you've done that, and let's just say for simplicity's sake, we'll do that. Then you can go to View, New Guide Layout, and it will give you the guides. Once you got the guides, you find the slice tool, and
because now you're guaranteed a 1:1 on all those, so it's gonna mirror up really nicely.
And it's usually under graphics and web. And then where is my slice tool? It's under the crop slice tool, and then you can just simply drag, and it will snap to the guidelines. If you've done that, oops, you can drag and drop to fix them. And notice that I'm being pretty sloppy starting outside. Again, it won't create a slice outside. So I've got 3 slices. Then you go to your export. I like save for web personally, even though it's the older style. And it is going to, you just pick your settings here, and it will create a separate image for each of the ones that you were doing.
Oh, Just Kyle commented that he's pretty sure Instagram updated last year to allow 4 or 5 multiple images. So the square thing may not be the case anymore. I personally haven't tried it, but that would be awesome if that is the case.
Yeah, I thought I did the other day when I shared, because I did share I was excited to go back to the Yellowstone, the Hayden Valley tree, and I shared one of my older pictures of that, and I did that just about a week ago. So I need to go back and check. That would be cool, because then you don't have to worry about it. Yeah.
If that's the case, then you don't run into Timmy had mentioned that part of the problem when you go to a 3:1 like this is you do cut off a lot of the glacier. And you also cut off a lot of that foreground snow, which was really cool too. So if you can do the 5:4 and then maybe split it into 4 images or something, then that would be awesome.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so there you go, Timmy. That new guide layout will get you there. It'll do the equals. Okay, and Kevin Walk has sent in a picture. Oh, he's got 2. let's just pick one since we're running out of time. Do you have a favorite of these two, Steve?
Let's see them again. I think I like the second one better.
I think so too.
They're both nice, and a little plug for the Platypod. I know the first one, I'm not sure about this one, but Kevin had put a post up that he had secured it to a tree and took the picture in a vertical orientation, and these turned out nice.
Yep, I agree. And yeah, I'm surprised you're giving a little plug for the Platypod, Steve, because you haven't always been such a fan. For those who don't know, the Platypod is kind of this tripod alternative with not the best name. I'll agree. But it is, we can't see you.
So, yeah, I know you can't see me. So you and
we can see you now. We can see you now.
Oh, okay. We still haven't talked about this. I have such a great Platypod story, and I'm not going to bore everybody. So here's the Platypod. This is the Ultra, I guess, the small one. And it comes with a little, these are the spiked feet and a carabiner here. And then it came with a whole bunch of accessories here in this little pouch. I don't know, straps and
the strap. Yeah, and that's exactly what Kevin did. He strapped that to the tree. And for those who are a little confused, it has, you'll put a tripod head on that plate. So it presents a stable base. It is limiting in some respects, but when you want to travel light but still have a stable base that you can use, along with that accessory pack, it's pretty useful. Enough that even though Steve made fun of it for years on end, he ended up buying one.
I did. I bought it at the show. They were running a special at their booth, and the people were really nice there. And the short story is I lost it. I actually left it at a table. We were having a meeting with some other photographers, and we left, and I left it there. I went back the next day. Lost and Found was closed. One of the people at the restaurant actually had it in a back room, and I got it back. But I was really heartbroken. I was bummed. It took me 2 years to buy this thing. I finally did, and then I lost it. And anyway, so that happened. And then later that day, David Carr and I were actually talking with Kelby, Scott Kelby. And you know, he's a big proponent of the Platypod. He talks about it quite a bit. And so I told him that I'd finally picked one up, and I'd seen a couple of his videos on it and stuff. So we had a good laugh about it. And the first thing that Kelby said is he said, "You're going to love it. Wonderful product. Terrible name." So yeah, that's exactly what we've been saying. It took me 2 years to buy it because of that.
Yeah. We should chat room come up with some alternative names for it. That would be great. But let's get back to critiquing Kevin's here that was used with a Platypod. We like both of them. I think Steve, along with you, I prefer this one because it's simple. I think the simplicity is a strength many times in photographs, and that other one is just a little bit busy.
Yeah, and that's why out of the two I chose this one, because the other one you had two things fighting for your attention. You want to focus on the water, but you got a tree cutting right across.
Yeah,
it's still a nice scene, but it's just got a lot more going on. I like the simplicity of the second shot.
Yep. And I have to say, I mean, overall, I think this is nicely done. I bring up the crop and thinking about rule of thirds, and we've got kind of a nice division here. The top third is this further waterfall and hillside. Middle third is this waterfall right in front of you, kind of cascading down out to the right-hand side. I might bring this up a little bit. Do you see how we got this kind of water spillover? Gets a little bigger and bulgier down there. I think I'm gonna chop that off. What do you think, Steve?
So I think I agree with you on that. I like the way that Kevin did this. I think the whites are a bit hot. I would take the highlights down just a little bit, show a little more texture in the water there. And in doing so, you may also have to go back to the water and kind of cool it down a little bit to keep it, you know, just clean looking, so it doesn't get. Sometimes when you mess with the white balance and stuff, the water can get a little murky or yellow. But what I would do with this image, the first thing I thought about when I saw it is I would want it to be a black and white with some really heavy contrast. The reason I say that is you've got you've got some beautiful green color, and it's a great scene, but you also have these wet, dry leaves that have a shine to them. and there's some are bright orange and some are darker orange, and then you've got the green of the grass or the moss and whatever. And I just think that this could be a really cool heavy contrast black and white image that now it takes the simplicity of the image and it makes it even simpler by eliminating the color and just working with the tones. That's just me personally. I think this is one that I would go black and white with.
I think that's a good suggestion. One of the things that happens is you had that kind of big brown spot of leaves right here, which is also competing for attention because it was brighter. And now that's just kind of hidden along with the greens, and it does become a much simpler image. I hit the J key, which brings up the little kind of clipping warnings of too dark or too bright. And you can see a little bit of speckle of blue up here. That's not enough to worry about. There's no red, which means we aren't too bright yet. So I actually think
I would take those highlights down.
I was taking them back up a little bit because they're not blown out yet. And it starts to get a little gray. And honestly, through this whole stretch here, it doesn't seem like it's a whole lot different. I don't want to take it down too much that it starts to feel gray.
Yeah. And, but I would also, I'd pump up some clarity and dehazing on this one too, because you've got a lot of texture in the ground and the rock and all that stuff. I think there's some really cool kind of crunchiness that plays well against the softer moving water. Mm-hmm. And this actually, so we talked about this on the last show. If you are going to go black and white, I highly suggest, if you have it as a plugin, going into Nik Filters and checking out their what's their black and white tool? Is it Define, or is that the
Silver Effects?
Silver Effects. Thank you. I know Define was the wrong one. Define is noise reduction. So Silver Effects, check that out because they've got some filters that are really cool, and use those as a base, and then you can play with the sliders to customize it. But that'll give you just some really nice options on where to go as a black and white. Also, what a lot of people may miss when they're processing black and white images is going to the individual color panel, or in this case, it'll be black and white, but you can still adjust those colors. Mm-hmm. And adjusting those can really change the look of the image. Sometimes I start with Lightroom Auto right there and see what it gives me and see what I think, and then I'll make some minor adjustments, and just gets you familiar with how color actually will affect a black and white image.
That's a great tip. I forget about this panel and how it switches when you work into color. And even though you're not seeing color anymore, of course, there's green information underneath the black and white. And so you can really change the look and feel. That's a great tip. Thanks for that, Steve.
Yeah.
And this little donut here, I think that's its official name. You can bring it out and grab it and click it in an area and drag down or up to affect. If you can't remember what color was there, or you're not sure how it looks, by clicking there, it's going to find all the other regions that have that similar color and move those sliders kind of as a group together, which is quite powerful.
Yeah. And I hope the viewers understand. I know I mentioned this at the beginning, but the decision to go black and white, it was beautiful as it was as a color photograph, Kev. So if you want to keep it that way, I get it. But just something to think about when you're looking at your images, especially if you're processing them at a brighter time of day, or if you don't have the real soft light. Some of those, like the wet leaves that were brown in the foreground, they really stood out. They really grabbed your attention right away. And that it's a very powerful corner. That lower left is where your eye visually kind of wants to start. And when they're wet and it's harsher light, you've got a shine that comes off of them. So they're going to give different colors. And it just, for me, the colors just started to become a bit of a distraction, as beautiful as they were. And I think when you go black and white, it really helps just kind of be intentional about, okay, I want you to look at the flow of the water through this crunchy scene.
Yep, I agree. And I got a local area adjustment brush out. And you can go either way. I had one back when it was color that I did that was kind of made the water pop a little bit more. And as Steve suggested, cooled it down, because you get to be a little scientific. You get some tannic acid in the water. It's kind of from the trees and the leaves. It gives it that browner tone, and you can back that back out by decreasing saturation. But once it went black and white, I actually brushed on there some decrease of clarity and some decrease of dehaze to do exactly what you're saying. Kind of, it further emphasizes that distinction between the kind of crispy rocks and leaves, and then has kind of further emphasizes kind of smooth flowing water. Or Steve, as you like to say with smooth flowing water, what's your favorite term there?
Pillowy.
Pillowy.
Nice pillowy water.
Nice pillowy water. Yep. So that's great. And Tom Boggs had asked, you know, if you want to submit an image for this, you have to be a Photo Enthusiast Network member. First, let me say thank you. Yes, let's stop screen sharing. Second show in a row, I've successfully not closed the show or ended the show when I've stopped screen sharing. So pat on my back for that. Thank you, Kevin and Tim, for submitting your images and getting them out in front of folks and letting us teach a little with them. If you're a Photo Enthusiast Network member, typically on Tuesday, a link is posted in our private community group that shows you and gives you instructions on how to submit images for this. And yeah, I think it's a fantastic way. It's one of the best ways to learn photography, is to put your work out there in front of people, get some feedback on it. And as you see, we're pretty positive. We like what you're submitting, and we want to show you how to make it better.
Yeah, and if you're freaked out about that, believe me, I get it. I'm extremely self-conscious about my work and putting it out there and who sees it and stuff. But over time, as I've gotten more comfortable with sharing images and letting people critique it and give me feedback, I've just found that I've become a better photographer, which has given me more confidence, which has allowed me to share more. And it becomes this cycle, and you start to improve at kind of an exponential rate the more you put your work out there and let people kind of talk about it. So thank you to Kevin and Timmy for submitting those. But yeah, to Tom's point also, just take a look out for that link that gets shared ahead of time before the show and submit your images. I wish we could just take them last minute, but we got to kind of prepare for the show and everything. So we need you to get those in ahead of time. And we love it. It's one of my favorite things to do on the show. Look at your images.
I agree. And, we do this in workshops as often as we can too, and find it really valuable. And I said this in an Instagram post the other day. I end up being a bit jealous in most of these image review sessions, because I'm like, oh, where did you see that awesome picture? I was looking off in some other direction, and I just love seeing what the participants capture to see through their eyes. So it's a lot of fun. Let's move on and to get into some news stories. Before we do that, real quick, Caleb said his suggestion for Platypod rename is the Flattypod. We're asking for better name suggestions.
I don't know, the Flattypod. Yeah, okay.
No,
it's not a huge improvement.
No,
it's fitting, but that's not a huge improvement. Yeah. But I mean, kudos to these guys, because here we are talking about it. This thing's been out for years. And everybody says that. Like, great product, crappy name, but we're all talking about it.
Yeah. All right. So news stories. First news story, and again, photorec.tv/MMH to see links to more of this information. Sony can accept lenses with a maximum aperture of 0.63. What? And this is funny. They actually presented this at the last Sony event that I attended. Mark Weir, head of Sony US Imaging, I think is his title. I just made him up a title. He's a really nice guy. I like him a lot. They're a little annoyed because when Canon and Nikon came out with their mirrorless, they're all like, look how big our mount is. It's designed for really fast lenses. And there's been some rumors and stuff floating around that it was Sigma CEO who said this way back, who said Sony's smaller lens mount can't really do fast lenses. It was never meant for that. And well, technically Sony can do an f.63, faster than an f1. Now you can see a pretty big difference here, but let's marry this news story with Matt Granger getting his hands on the new Nikon Noctiluma lens that is an f.95. Steve, what's the fastest lens you've ever shot with?
Probably a 1.2.
Yeah. How much time did you spend at 1.2?
All I did was test it out. I was doing almost like macro shots on a leaf in New England. And I was shooting, it was either the 50 1.2 or the 85 1.2. Maybe that's a 1.4. I don't even remember. But Needless to say, I took a couple shots, and the problem is your plane of focus is so narrow.
Yes.
And I was like, this is pointless. Like, well, anytime you're below 2.8, you got to really think about what you're doing. And I just, I thought, I mean, this is great, and it's awesome if you're shooting something that's further away and it's a dark environment and you really need the light and stuff like that. But I don't, I hear about 0.63 or whatever. I don't need to really necessarily invest. And that's huge money that you have to invest to get lenses that fast.
Yeah, and as I could have told you, and as Matt Granger shares in his video, and I've actually had there is a manual focus 50 1.0 for the Sony that I've tested before. Because it's manual focus, because as Steve says, your plane of focus is your depth of field is so ridiculously small that it becomes practically unusable for what you would think you would want a lens like that, like portraits. No, it's way too shallow. And if your model breathes, her face and head is going to move enough that the eye is going to be out of focus.
Yeah.
So there is very limited use to this lens. I'm not saying it's a crappy lens. It's going to be fantastic optical. It's going to be amazing in its light gathering abilities, but it is going to be extremely limited in its practical use.
So I would love a 600 millimeter 1.0. That would be.
Yeah.
I think you can introduce one of those, and I'll even be generous. Let's say $2,400. A 600 millimeter 1.0. Professional grade lens at $2,400. I will buy that lens. I'll figure out some way to pay for that lens.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a bit more. I mean, what's the price of this new Nikon? $6,000? I mean, I don't even.
I
think it is. I think it's $6,000. So it's just kind of insane.
Well, and you get into these big lenses that I know they'll do 2.8, but you're talking $15,000 for a lens.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, one of the neat features of the EOS R that I really liked is when a lens is off, the shutter closes, protecting the sensor from any dirt. To save money on the EOS RP, they don't have that. There's that sensor.
That honestly should be something that is just everybody that is making a mirrorless camera should just have that feature.
Yeah. I will say, it is a nice size for a full frame sensor. And that fully articulating screen. I just get a little bummed that they kind of really hobbled some video features, but as many people pointed out who watched my video, they don't care about video features. And so at that price point, it's pretty nice.
Since we're kind of oogling over these cameras though, one more time, can you pull up the X-T3? Yeah. I mean, come on, you guys, look at how beautiful that thing is.
Yeah, it is. I tell you though, honestly, the EOS RP and the Sony feel nicer in the hand to me. That I like. But, I mean, this is it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous look.
I'm an old school guy, and I like aesthetics a lot. That camera to me is just really stunning. They did such a nice job with that. Okay, that is not cool.
It's just, it's different. It's different. I can't remember how to push that button. But really good autofocus. I remember how to push buttons. I can't remember how to make it.
I mean, it's a heck of a lot better than my articulating screen on my Hasselblad.
There we go. There you go. Right.
I mean, look at how. Okay, so useful, yes, but look at how over-engineered that is. Now, show the flip-out screen on the Canon. One point of contact, you can flip it around. It's why doesn't everybody just do that? So many less hinges and tools
I kept getting distracted as I was trying to do that though. But really nice IAF in the system, really nice sensor, and kit lenses. So this is the 18 to 55, and typically you don't want to spend a whole lot of time with kit lenses, although these days things like the new 24 to 105 RF is much better too. But Fuji, really, their kit lenses are fantastic, and you buy that and you are good to go for a nice portable walk around with a nice camera. So I mentioned about USB charging, and they said USB charging with the EOS RP. I found that I couldn't USB charge the EOS R without, having the Canon adapter, which cost $190. What I have found is that there are other chargers, maybe some as cheap as $30 that will charge it. But what happens is if you plug it into something it doesn't like at first, it shuts that USB charging down and doesn't work with anything until, I don't know what happens. You get a reset from I don't know. The EOS RP, I plugged into several different things, didn't work until I found a pretty hefty USB charger that's rated at like 10 watts or something like this. But my favorite little battery with Qualcomm Quick Charge 3.0 charges my Sony's, charges the Fuji, charges this bunch of different things. Doesn't work with the EOS RP. So, I mean, it's not a big deal, but I'm kind of annoyed. Why can't they make it a little bit more universal? Because it's nice when you're traveling. Battery life is not going to be great on this RP. It's got this small little dinky battery. And because it's mirrorless, you always have a screen on either here or through the viewfinder. So being able to charge on the go really kind of makes a difference.
Is that the same battery that the EOS R?
No.
Actually, I sent out, for those of you that saw the post on Facebook a couple weeks ago about how to pronounce nomenclature in the camera world, like bokeh. It's EOS, isn't it? Not EOS. I keep seeing
EOS. Yeah, you're supposed
EOS
to say that.
Anyway, is that the same battery?
It is not. The EOS R uses the standard 5D Mark IV, the LPE6 battery. So it's similar. So it uses this little dinky battery. That's the same thing that's used in like the T6, T5 on T7s and stuff like that. And it's just not going to last too long. It'll be fine, and it's small. You can get a couple of them. I mean, that's what I used to do when I shot with the older Sonys. But I have to say, I made it through a full day of extreme cold weather shooting on one Sony battery now with this A7, the third generation of the Sonys. That battery is great. So I've been happy. Yeah. Andrew's asking if it's all plastic, the top part. Oh, on the Fuji? No, that's metal, isn't it?
Yeah, the XT3, it should be all metal. I mean, that's their...
I think it is.
Or it could be, it's probably aluminum.
Yeah. And then it has, it's metal. And there is a metal structure. And some of these cameras have, like this, I think is magnesium under the plastic, which allows it to stay very light, but it's pretty rigid. Really, it feels great in the hand. A little unbalanced with this lens. You can see it's starting to get a little funny looking, similar to Sony's, but it really pretty nice there. And I'm looking forward to shooting with that over the next couple of days. And maybe my opinion of it will go up a bit. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Young Nuo announces a $500 4K camera with Android, 4G, and a Canon EF mount. Have you looked at this at all, Steve?
No.
Go ahead.
Every time I see Young Nuo, they're the ones that do the flashes, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I know that actually they've made a pretty solid name for themselves in I always want to call them knockoff.
I think that's fair. They are basically. Yeah.
And people have had good luck with them. There's something really sketchy to me about buying. Maybe I'm just too much of a you get what you pay for kind of guy. But I know that people have had good luck with the flashes. I have no idea what to think about a camera. Not going to be in my wheelhouse. It's not going to be something that I'm going to be diving into, but
let me tell you what I'm excited about first. Kind of Android at the back end. That's interesting. It's because open source, fairly robust operating system. That can be neat in the fact that it's going to have 4G built in. You maybe throw a SIM card in or something, and you've got kind of the future idea of a connected camera. As you're taking pictures, it could be backing them up. Canon EF mount. Hey, that's great because then if you were already a Canon shooter, then you got a bunch of lenses, so you don't have to wait for them to build out a lens system. I'm worried about autofocus though, because if you remember a year or two ago, I reviewed the Young Innovators Micro Four Thirds camera, and that is this third party, and its autofocus sucked. It was terrible. And, you know, we talk about the autofocus systems in these cameras. They have huge teams of engineers. When you think about what a camera does to get focus, to figure out whether or not it's in focus, that is really complicated programming, optics, electronics, all married together in this kind of beautiful package. Yeah. And I'm worried about a third party doing this well anytime soon.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm always kind of sketched out by that. And I think you hit the nail on the head when it comes to, oh gosh, I'm drawing such a blank. Quality control. You know, and this was kind of a problem, honestly, for quite a few years with companies like Tamron and Sigma and stuff. You know, it was always quality control. You had, you know, a lens hood was made in the Philippines, and then a lens body was made in China, and then you had something else from Japan, and it was all assembled somewhere else. But they've got enough money that has come in, and they've invested in their own R&D, and their quality control, I think, is really good now, and they're producing some awesome lenses. And maybe Yongnuo will be one of these companies that we'll see in a few years, and they'll be coming to the table with some higher quality products. But right now, it's just, I don't know, it just always, I'm always sketched out when something is that cheap.
Yep.
with so many features.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, so we'll see. And yeah, let's say I'm rooting for them. I'm excited to see if they can, you know, do something down the road, but I think they got a really hard road ahead of them.
Yeah.
But competition is nice.
Yep.
Gosh, we got so many great news stories that I just want to read a couple of titles. One, you should go look at these Canon concept cameras that were recently shown in Japan at CP Plus, including a gold. It's actually really more of a champagne colored EOS EOS R. But they've got some goofy ones too, a kid's camera, this instant telephoto camera. So go take a look at those. Again, PhotoRec TV/MMH. US bans lithium-ion batteries in the cargo of all passenger planes. Now, first off, if these are camera batteries, basically, and all other batteries, but if you're watching the show, you're probably a photographer with camera batteries that this applies to. I wouldn't check those batteries anyway. You need them when you arrive at your destination. And the only way to know for sure those bags are going to arrive is if you carry them onto the plane yourself and carry them off the plane. Anything critical to your camera, I think, should be in your carry-on luggage. And they are still allowed there. But in your check bags now, they are not allowed at all. So.
Yeah, I thought that was the case for the last year or two. But I saw that story. I saw that it was official. And I know there was something going around, even in your carry-on, they should be individually wrapped and out of the camera. I'm not sure if they enforce that, but I've got this little, let's see if I can show it to you guys. Whoops.
Oh, careful. I'll say this, they don't enforce that because I've flown through with my drone batteries. Those are big, you know, those are the size of my fist.
Yeah.
And I've had as many as 3 in my camera bag at a time, and nobody has ever said anything.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. A while ago, I bought this from Think Tank. I've got a 4-pack for my Canon batteries, and then this is just a 2-pack, which is the one I had handy. This is what it looks like. And these are cheap. I don't even know what I paid for it. Like maybe $10 or something like that at a local camera store. But you know, you got 2 batteries, but they're individually wrapped in here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's big. Yep.
Typically what I do is if I've used one, I just flip it around and I put it in upside down. That way I know it needs to be charged. But these things are great for travel, for carrying your batteries and keeping them all in one place and making sure that they're not, you know, coming into contact with anything. And
yeah, that's important. Yeah, that's great. You should have something like that. When my drone batteries, I make sure that there's no way the contacts can touch each other or touch anything else the same. Yeah, you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that guy that starts a fire on a plane. It's not a good place to be. You
don't want to be that guy. And something with the electricity up in the air. David mentioned this in one of his books about travel photography, is taking your batteries out, because there is a chance of having some sort of short, if it's inside the camera, that could possibly create dead pixels. So whether or not that really happens, I don't really care. I just don't want to take the risk. So
that's a good point. Yep.
Definitely make sure that you take your batteries out of your camera and have them loose.
Yep. Good. And Alex has joined us. Hello in Seattle. Are you in Seattle, Alex? Because I'm in Seattle too. Hi.
Neighbor, new neighbor.
Yep, new neighbor. Real quick, this isn't in the rundown. I'll add it if I remember quickly. The Leica Q2 has been announced and released, and Dan at DP Review has got his first hands on. It looks lovely, lovely. But here's why I want to talk about it, because this is the first time I've seen any camera manufacturer do this. I maybe have just missed it previously, but it actually publishes an IP rating. It's an IP52. Which, if you know anything about IP ratings, they help you determine its dust and water resistance. The first number refers to dust resistance on a scale, and the second number is water.
Yeah, what the higher the number, the more water resistant or proof it is,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. So we can go over here. We can switch over to this very fancy IP table, and we can come down here on the dust side and say 5 says limited protection against dust ingress, no harmful deposit. And it's just one step though below totally protected. So that's seems pretty good. And then the 2, so we come across here, protected against falling drops of water if case is disposed up to 15 meters or 15 from vertical. I don't know exactly what that means, but you can see that the next one is protects against sprays of water. So it's not, you don't spray it with water, but falling drops of water seem to be okay. I would love to see camera manufacturers kind of adopt a more standardized method, because we just don't know. They just say it's dust and water resistant, and it's all kind of up to their own standards right now. So I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I agree. And just use the IP rating. I mean, that's what every cell phone now, like, people had no clue what that was until cell phones all of a sudden over the last couple of years have started to become water resistant. So people are kind of familiar with that now, and it's a good standard. And I don't know why the camera companies haven't used that. So that, however, that Leica Q2 looks pretty dang awesome.
47 megapixels full frame sensor with a fixed lens, 28 millimeter f1.7, and it's stabilized lens as well. So really nice kind of walk around range file style,
What is it about
finder style.
$27,000 out of the gate?
$5,000.
Oh, for Leica, that's.
I know, it's quite reasonable actually. Quite reasonable.
Three of that is the red dot.
Yeah.
But, you know, in the Leica world, $5,000, they were probably all cringing when they put that price tag on it. But
yeah, and, you know, it can be kind of considered similar to the Sony RX1, which is the 42 megapixel fixed lens camera. I think that's a 28 as well. I can't remember how fast it is, but very similar. That's sitting at about $3,000 right now. So.
The nice thing though with Leica, if you're really hell bent on getting one of their products, one of our instructors, David Carr, has a beautiful Leica, and I forget what model he bought, but he got it used, you know, and it's perfect condition, and he saved himself, I don't know, 50% off of the new price. It's still a lot of money, but these are almost heirloom cameras, you know, like you can hand these down. It's a Leica. I mean, it's just they're amazing, and the glass, the lenses that they make are truly incredible.
Yeah.
So, you know, if that's your thing, that Q2 looks like a pretty sweet camera to watch for the next year or two, and see if you can pick up a used one.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I want to call you out there for a sec, though, Steve. You said it's an heirloom that you can pass down. I really feel like that does apply in film cameras. It's a little tougher in digital.
Yeah, it is becoming tougher.
It certainly will look nice on a shelf.
Yeah, and they'll still produce good images and stuff. I do think of my X1D that I picked up last June as it's a, you know, it's kind of an anniversary camera, and it's I'm hoping a very special camera that I spend years shooting, and someday my grandkids will have it, and, you know, it's Papa's camera, and it's going to be maybe a piece of junk, but it'll mean something. You know, I guess what I'm saying is a lot of these companies, their products are so mass produced and sold at a reasonable price that so many people pick them up that it's it's kind of special. Like I've got a Canon AE1 film camera
Mm-hmm.
that was handed down, and I love it. But there's a million of those out there, you know, and that's film. Digital, you're right. You don't have that heirloom sort of nostalgia with a lot of these cameras. Although maybe I'm changing my mind with that X-T3.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, it'll be interesting. And just you mentioned the X1D for new watchers. You're talking about the Hasselblad that you own.
Yes.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. I heard David's going to get one. He saw yours. He's jealous about it. And he's going to get one.
Yeah, David McKay got a Hasselblad just like mine. Sorry, buddy. I think you're watching.
All right, we're going to move on because we made this show longer than it typically is. But I ate lunch right before, so I'm not starving. So I'll keep going forever. Sorry, Steve.
I'm starving because Renee's making dinner and it smells great in this house.
Okay. All right, we're wrapping it up. This is really cool. I'm just going to show our. Oh well, no, I can click this link. Hang on here. Sound waves captured. I teased this at the beginning. These are groundbreaking shots of sonic boom.
Whoa! Holy.
Yeah. Yeah, this is cool. So this has been colorized. Let's scroll down. Here's what it looks like. Here's a side view of what they actually captured. And here's a blue colorized version. You can flop over to NASA. And this page goes into this information a little bit more. And it was at 1400. So the camera they're using is capable of 1400 frames per second. That's pretty
That's fast. A little bit faster than my Hasselblad.
A little bit, just a little. But better than your Hasselblad, or your Hasselblad is better. It can only record for 3 seconds at a time. So they've got this jet up in the air with the camera mounted, shooting down below. These two F-38 trainers, T-38 trainers, have to fly underneath, have to hit a spot about 100 feet wide where they break the sonic barrier for this all to be captured. Can you imagine the precision that has to happen between all of this being lined up? I think about like when I'm testing cameras and I have Kaz just walk towards me to test review, and we have to do it like 5 times before I get it right. And that's just walking and holding a camera. We've got a jet mounted camera photographing 2 other jets with a small window of opportunity and an incredible short period of time. It's pretty cool.
That is amazing.
And it's this Schillerin technology that they're using. Here is a shot of a ground setup. This is the imaging system right here. So not very big. It's basically fitting in the palm. It's just attached to a tripod. And I think it has pretty good battery life, because if we look over here, it's just wired up to a car battery.
Nice.
I love that. I love that.
That's yeah, we're going to start seeing that on our tours now. I don't have to worry about battery life with my new mirrorless.
I was ready to do that with the original Sonys, you know, just to carry around a car battery in the backpack, because I
thought I was going to be employed as your like car battery carrying technician when we were in Alaska.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. 5 ways to become a better photographer this year. Let's talk about that for just a moment. And then we'll start to wrap this puppy up. And if you missed Steve's puppy, you have to go back to the very beginning. We started with the best part of the show.
Yeah, she's down there sniffing all the food that Mom's cooking. So I don't think I'll get her back up here anytime soon, but maybe next show.
Yeah. All right. Number 1, it makes sense. And it's true. If you want to get better at something, you got to do it. And if you do it every day, you're probably going to improve at it. So committing to photographing every day. That's a great tip. We talk about 365 challenges. Those are great to kind of sign up for. If you join the Photo Enthusiast Network, we're not running any challenges right now, but it's kind of this being part of this community and seeing other people getting out and shooting, you know, walking to their local pond and catching a nice reflection, or going into the city and doing some street photography. I think that being part of that community, even though it's virtual, I think really helps with a little bit of kind of motivation from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. Like, as much as we encourage people and everything else, I mean, the reason that people see their images improve so much when they come out on a tour with us, more often than not, is because they've got the heart for photography, but they're just not out there on any kind of daily basis or even weekly or monthly basis shooting. And it doesn't have to be a lot. You know, you don't have to carve out, you know, hours out of every day. But I always say that learning photography is like learning a foreign language. You go on tour with us and you're embedded in it for a week, and that's all you're talking about. That's all you're doing. You become pretty proficient. But then if you go home and you don't put it into practice, then you forget it and you have to relearn it the next time you go out and shoot. So being out there practicing will definitely improve your skills. It certainly goes without saying, but it really works.
Sharing your work freely. And, you know, we already talked about this, but this one actually kind of blends into another one. And that's kind of putting your work out there for critique. But this person says, getting your work out there on social media and sharing your photos. I will say this, though, don't get stressed out about the likes. If you're putting your work out there for you to just kind of share and say, here is my work, don't get stressed about what people do like or don't like, and don't necessarily use that as a good feedback of what is good or not. Because in my experience, your followers can't always pick out the better pieces from maybe the little less better pieces.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I'm glad that that came from you, because, you know, you've got a big audience and your business is built on views and likes and all that stuff. And you do have to step back from that and just be like, that doesn't define who you are as a photographer.
Yeah, I would say this. I'm curious to know. Instagram does seem to be picking back up for me as far as number of followers gained each day, and I haven't made any changes to the way I'm doing things in the last year. I don't know if Steve, you're seeing that same, or chat room. Are you? Is it a fluke, or have they tweaked algorithms again? Because
I'm not active enough to be a good study on that.
Yeah, for a while I was very, very flat, really not gaining anybody, but now I seem to be again. So I don't know. Number 3 is find your tribe of photography buddies. And again, I don't necessarily mean to use this for a Photo Enthusiast Network commercial, but again, I think this is huge. And I was talking with Carrie Dahlstrom, who is kind of a regular McKay client who's come on a lot of trips with us. And we were talking about why people come on these trips. And there's really a huge power in finding a tribe of people. And going on these trips, let me stop sharing for a second, just back to me. Going on these trips, it's so different than going out with your family or friends and doing photography, because they're not very patient, in my experience. You know, and even when they are, they still aren't patient enough. But when you go on a workshop, or you go out on a photo walk, or you join a virtual community, everybody is excited about photography. They want to talk photography, and they want to do photography for as long as the light is good. And that's huge.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, that's a big reason that I'm an instructor at all right now. I mean, when I started my business, all I wanted to do was fully submerge myself in a community of like-minded people, photographers and stuff. And it took a little bit of time to find, and I found it with the McKays, and, you know, I became a client. I took their classes, and through that I met some people, and we'd keep in touch. We'd hook up on Facebook. And so that in my walk has been invaluable, is surrounding myself with other photographers.
Yeah.
And then everything kind of just forms from there, relationships and referrals, and your photography grows and everything else. So your support system, everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Number 4, getting your photos critiqued. You know, Photo Enthusiast Network offers a lot of different ways. It can feel daunting to put your work out there in front of people. But if you find a good tribe of people that are supportive, they're going to be helpful in their feedback. They're not just going to tear you down and tell you that's a stupid picture. If they are telling you that, then you need to find a new group, because there's always something constructive that can be learned from every photo you post. And don't waste your time with negativity. And number 5, sorry,
also,
go ahead.
I'll just add to that, like, you know, find people that will give you critiques and stuff, but also that you can kind of relate to, that you feel comfortable taking critiques from, because there are intimidating photographers and people in general out there. And if you're not meshing well with the person, I'm not saying find somebody that's just going to tell you what you want to hear all the time. That's like eating candy. It's fun for a while, but there's no nutrition. Find somebody that you really respect as a photographer, or you really like. And then if you know, we see this on tours. We all teach very differently, and somebody might learn better from you than they will from me. And I'm happy to have that person really kind of latch onto you and learn from you, because we want this person to go home with the best experience possible. So, you know, just if you get some harsher feedback, but it's delivered in a way that doesn't really mesh with your style, that's okay. You know, there's other people out there. And that's one of the beauties about Penn, is it's a whole community of people. And then us as instructors and co-founders, you know, the four of us are very, very different people. So.
Yep. Well said. And number 5 is commit to learning something new. So if you're, you know, you like natural light photography, maybe challenge yourself and start to use a flash, or look at macro photography. There's just one of the things I love, and I've said this on the show often, is just kind of the diversity of what photography can mean to you. Or pick up, as many of you are in the chat room talking about, you know, pick up a film camera and challenge yourself with something new. It will make you as a photographer, in that general sense, grow, and that's a great thing.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. All right. You know what? We're going to wrap the show up. We're just going to end it right then. But there is a nice article I totally agree with, called 5 Tips for More Authentic Travel Photos. So go to photorec.tv/MMH to learn more about that. We want Steve to be able to go and have dinner sometime tonight. And there's also, we usually do photos from space. There's really cool 20 amazing images of U.S. national parks from space. But we are going to just say we're done. If you're watching this and you're not a Photo Enthusiast Network member, you should consider joining photorec.tv/Penn. It guarantees access to this show and those weekly tips, weekly videos, monthly image reviews, plus the community forum on Facebook, plus the community forum off Facebook. If you're not a big fan of Facebook, I understand. And so much more. You can learn more at photorec.tv/Penn. And if you're looking to build a website in 2019, start at squarespace.com/photorechtv. We thank them so much for their support of this show. And chat room, thanks for hanging out with us on this Thursday afternoon. We'll be back, I believe, at our regular time next Wednesday. Steve, I think that works for you. But
yeah, I think that should be fine. And I want to give a special shout out to the chat room this week. I mean, they're always great, but I know there's a lot of people that have joined in on this since it's being broadcast live to a greater audience than just our Penn members this week. And that's part of the reason why you heard a little bit more about our community and what we're doing. But huge kudos to those who chimed in and had some things to say. I know there's been a couple of comments on here from Uptown Wedding Photographer NJ, whoever that is, first time in here. And I'm really glad they saw the pop-up and joined us, or she. And, you know, I hope that this isn't the last time we get to kind of interact with you. We'd love to see you as part of the Photo Enthusiast Network, because this is something that we do as often as possible, if we can, once a week. And for me personally, it's one of my favorite things to do in this whole Photo Enthusiast Network thing, because it doesn't involve typing and just being on my own, like at a computer. I feel like it's interactive and a lot of fun to bounce ideas off of. And so thank you, chat room, for being there and having a voice. And we love having you guys with us each week.
Nice. Give a quick thumbs up if you haven't hit that already. And, you know, you saw a bunch of gear on the table. Leave a comment down below this video. You know, which camera is most appealing to you? I'm curious to hear from you all. And on that note, thank you all so much for watching. Have a wonderful day wherever you are. Bye-bye.